Hello and welcome to Resurrection Lutheran Church. This is Pastor Wade Johnston. Happy to be with you again for another short video. This one's a little bit different. It's not preparation for the divine service, and it's not an explanation of the divine service, and it's not an invitation to the divine service, although we certainly would love to have you join us sometime on a Sunday at 9 a.m. But I wanted to talk about something in our church and something that I noticed the first time I was here to preach and celebrate the service, and that catches my eye now every time I preach since then too. We're up in the balcony in the back of church, and if I were in the pulpit in the front, and you maybe know where that is from previous videos, if I look up from the people, and I'm looking at the people when I preach, but if I glance up, this is what I see, this stained glass window here, and we can maybe have another video about some of the other things in this stained glass window, but something that's very striking to me about it is what is in the center. It's not something that necessarily I can recall ever seeing before in a church in America. It's an ancient and medieval symbol that's actually a very powerful symbol. If you know its history, I'll have to ask how many of our members, or ask our members and see how many of them know the history of this. But you'll see a peacock. And most of you have seen a peacock before at a zoo, or perhaps at some other place that might have one of them wandering around. And you might wonder, why a peacock? Why in the world have a peacock in church? But it's very fitting and it's very appropriate that this is what I see when I preach to God's people here at Resurrection, because a peacock is a symbol for Christ and the resurrection. Why is that? Well, there's several reasons. The ancients used to think that the body of a peacock never decayed even after death. And you can see how that would be a reminder of the resurrection, that we will be raised imperishable even as Christ is. His body was not left to the grave. It was also thought that peacocks every year shed their feathers and then they would grow back and they would be even more beautiful every year. And we can see how that's fitting with Christ and with the resurrection as well, as we will never grow bored of heaven. Heaven will be ever more beautiful every day, every year for us as we grow into our enjoyment of it. And we are always more beautiful in God's sight as his dear children. It was also thought in the Middle Ages that peacocks got their beautiful feathers in a very interesting way. It was in part through what they ate. And one of the things that was thought they ate was poisonous, venomous snakes. And they would eat these snakes, and then it was actually the poison that would make them so beautiful. And boy, doesn't that fit well with what Christ has done for us on the cross, as the serpent struck at his heel, and yet Christ put it to death, and his death became glorious, and he became even more beautiful through his resurrection on Easter Sunday, having defeated Satan and taken all of Satan's venom for us, so that we also in the resurrection can be more beautiful, raised imperishable in Christ. Another thing is, often the feathers of peacocks, it looks like they have eyes on the end of them. And this reminded people of the beatific vision, that God sees us and that we will see God in heaven. We will be known and we will know. And what a wonderful conclusion to our journey through this life that will be. And then finally, I think the peacocks fits well in another way. When we gather, I preach law and gospel to God's people. I give them Christ in word and sacrament, and then they go back out into their vocations, their daily life, and they go into what can sometimes be considered mundane things, kind of just worldly, daily things that need to be done. Changing diapers, taking out the garbage, commuting by your car, right? Doing your job at work, whatever that might be, the grind some people will talk about. And that might seem pretty plain and pretty unimpressive sometimes. Peacocks often look that way. They don't walk around with their feathers out. In fact, maybe you've seen them at a petting zoo or elsewhere, and they kind of just look like a turkey when they're just out and about walking around. And yet the feathers come out and you are amazed. And that's how it is with our vocations. And that's how it is when God sees us. Who we are and what we do often seems pretty plain. But we've been made of a very part of a very wonderful thing through holy baptism. And all our works, even the most mundane, have been endowed with divine purpose and beauty through Christ, who also came to this world and seemed pretty mundane, right? Isaiah tells us there was nothing in particular in him that people should recognize how special he was by his earthly appearance, at least. And yet, what do we see? We see when we get glimpses in his miracles of his divinity, we see at his transfiguration, we see on Easter Sunday that plumage, those feathers come out as he is revealed for who he is. Uh, this again then is a very striking part of the church here that draws my attention each time I'm in here, when I'm in here praying or kind of walking and reading, getting a little bit of exercise. My eyes are drawn up again and again. And maybe if you make your way, if you join us, you will also be struck by it too. And for our members who are watching, maybe you haven't even noticed it besides when you're coming back from Holy Communion, but maybe you'll think a little bit more when you see it too. What a wonderful truth it confesses, or what wonderful truths it confesses. This peacock here in the back of our church, which reminds us of who we are in Christ and what we will be forever in Christ. Until next time, God bless.